Hello comrades, greetings from Brazil to all the workers who are on the front line of the crisis. I would like to send a greeting from my co-workers from the hospital at the University of Sao Paulo who organized an action this week in defense of workers' lives. I would like to welcome everyone who is watching this rally. We are experiencing a huge political crisis here in Brazil with the ultra-reactionary government of Jair Bolsonaro. He is Donald Trump's bootlicker and a misogynist, racist, homophobe and transphobe who hates all workers. When the pandemic began, Bolsonaro said that Brazilians could dive into the sewer without facing any harm. But in Brazil, 30 million people don't even have access to drinking water. It's predominantly black people who are dying as a result of this pandemic. Bolsonaro and his vice president, General Mourão, have shown support for Brazil's former military dictatorship. Just a few days ago, Mourão made a statement supporting the military coup of 1964, which killed, tortured, and disappeared thousands. Bolsonaro also has the support of the military, which took over security in Rio de Janeiro, increasing the violence against poor black people. He has the support of Paulo Guedes, an ultra-neoliberal figure who supported the anti-worker measures aimed at making the working class pay for the crisis. Last week, Judge Sergio Moro resigned from the government. He was trained by the US State Department and was in charge of the Operation Car Wash, Lava Jato, which brought about the coup in 2016 that ousted President Dilma Rousseff. Moro was a figure who played a key role in the arbitrary arrest of former President Lula. Moro, a representative of the right-wing coup, wants to distance himself from Bolsonaro, pretending to have a rational approach to the crisis, all while supporting the agenda of attacks against workers. That's why socialists should have no confidence in the Congress, the judiciary, and the anti-worker governors. But at this moment of increasing attacks against our class, we need to ask ourselves, what are the big unions doing? They are in quarantine, silent in their homes, or even supporting attacks against the workers. And on May Day, they are sharing the stage with bourgeois politicians who are enemies of our class. That's why now more than ever, we need to retake the unions into the hands of the working class and prevent this soda bureaucracy from hindering our organization and our unity. We need to fight for the precarious workers, the subcontracted, the youth who spend 12 hours a day on a bicycle doing deliveries. We need to defend immigrants who are being humiliated or killed at the borders, like at the Venezuelan border with Brazil. Part of this bureaucracy is supported by the Workers' Party, which calls itself an opposition to Bolsonaro, but when they are in government, or they were in government, they implemented attacks and privatizations. Lula himself boasted that bankers had never made higher profits than during his administration. The fight to oust Bolsonaro has gained the support of millions and can defeat this reactionary government. But at the same time, there is a risk that comes with the call to oust Bolsonaro. There are wings that point to a government headed by General Mourão as a way out, and unfortunately, this includes sectors of the left that are demanding Bolsonaro's impeachment or resignation. Instead, we have to demand the ousting of Bolsonaro, General Mourão, and the military. In this sense, we are calling on the left bloc of the PSOL, on the PSTU, and all organizations that consider themselves revolutionary to put up a strong left-wing bloc that calls for the overthrow of Bolsonaro. but does not leave our class in the lap of a right-wing military general. This is even more important at a time when the Workers' Party has already shown that it wants to save the regime and just change the players. Their only alternative is the hope that the Workers' Party will be voted into office in 2022, or even paving the way for morale by defending the policy of impeachment, without questioning the totally undemocratic and authoritarian regime that we live under in our country. Therefore, for socialists, it is not a question of changing one administration for another. It is necessary to bring down this regime, and for that to happen, there is no alternative but for the people themselves to decide our future. So when we fight for the ousting of Bolsonaro and General Mourão, we also fight for a constituent assembly, which is free and sovereign and can discuss the biggest problems of our country and take steps to protect the most exploited, without any limit from the powers that were accomplices during decades of attack and degradation of the politics of our country. This process should point to a path to overcome the limits of this rotten and degraded democracy that we live in, so that workers can come to the conclusion that it is necessary to fight for a government of the workers that breaks with capitalism. Otherwise, we will continue to experience this capitalist misery, and we will be forced to hear Bolsonaro use Marielle's name for his own ends. Bolsonaro, keep Marielle's name out of your mouth. We fight for justice for Marielle, who is a symbol of the struggle of black women in our country, where black women earn 60% less than white men. Brazil's slave heritage and racism continues to serve capitalism. But on May 1st, we also want to remember our history of struggle from the beginning. Those who rose up against slave masters and who in Haiti had the first and only black revolution in history. As Karl Marx said, labor in the white skin can never free itself as long as labor in the black skin is branded. And on this basis, we fight for the unity of the working class. And with hundreds of workers, we have organized in the workplaces committees of the Esquerda Diario, with which we are reaching millions with a voice so that the capitalists will pay for this crisis. These are some of the steps that we have been taking to fight for the construction of a revolutionary internationalist party that fights for rebuilding the Fourth International.